Welcome to episode 4. We are in finally the second half of these videos, and this one is going to focus on textures and a lot of lighting effects within the game. In this section we're going to be downloading a lot more mods a lot faster for both time and because there's no real issue in terms of installing or uninstalling, for that matter, pure texture mods. These are purely aesthetic changes. We're not changing anything to do with how the game functions, just how it looks. So please open up Static Mesh Improvement Mod, Noble Skyrim, the Dawn Guard Textures Remastered, Skyrim Flora Overhaul, Designs of the Nords, Embers HD, Real Roads, A Median Born. Moving on, let's start off with Static Mesh Improvement Mod. A mesh is a three-dimensional object within the game. These include things like barrels, chains, tomatoes, and SMIM replaces almost all of them. We're installing it first because a lot of mods need it. Next up is a hidden gem of sorts in terms of the texture community. Noble Skyrim. I feel it adds a much more rustic, worn, but regal feeling to the architecture in Skyrim. With that in mind, let's download. You can pick from the 2K or the Performance Edition. Just for future reference, Performance Edition tends to mean that they are 1K textures, not 2K textures. But I'm going to install 2K. Feel free to pick Performance if you're very close to those requirements that I listed previously. Noble Skyrim doesn't replace everything, and with that in mind, we need to download a bunch more texture mods. The Dawn Guard Textures Remastered replaces a lot of the unique textures to the Dawn Guard DLC. These include Fort Dawn Guard, weapons, armor, the hounds. Download with Manager. Skyrim Flora Overhaul. This overhauls the flora in Skyrim. Shocking, I know. In the download section, we need to look for version 2.3 or whatever the latest is. Don't stress about anything else. Moving on, Designs of the Nords replaces all of the banners in the game with much higher resolution ones and much more aesthetically pleasing ones for that matter. Download with Manager. Embers replaces the Embers. These have creative names. Download with Manager, but feel free to get the 102.4 version if you are pretty close to the performance requirements. Real Roads. This replaces the boring 2D meshes with actual 3D roads that we can see. Download with Manager the BSA or the loose files. The loose files will allow you to have more control if you get more advanced later on. The BSA is just fine for now. At the A Median Born Book of Silence, we are going to be getting pretty much everything here except the unique items. We're going to use a separate mod for that. So download everything but unique items. And all of the hotfixes, very important. It is now many years in the future and all of our downloads have finished. Let's begin in the order which we downloaded them. SMIM has a nifty little installer, but obviously, since all of these downloads are huge, they're going to take ages to unpack. Okay, SMIM has finished unpacking and I'm just going to hit everything. I like everything to do with this mod, but if you're a little bit nitpicky, feel free to go through custom. Alright, now we can install Noble Skyrim. Again, a manual install, but is going to take forever. Select the data directory. I'll see you in 10 years. Alrighty, moving on to the Dawn Guard Textures Remastered. Don't need such a massive name. Data directory is 2 down. Skyrim floor overhaul. Manual. Designs of the Nords, set data directory. Embers, set data directory. Real roads. Wonderful. A Median Born Book of Silence. A Median Born Book of Silence has an installer that appeared on my other screen, and I'm just going to install everything. Installing A Median Born creatures. Perfect. Now, Mod Organizer is going to throw you a warning. Don't worry, you just need to rename the file A Median Born Creatures. There we go. Dragonborn DLC. Again, renaming it so we don't get the error. Install. Weapons. Install all weapons. Rename. And finally, the content add-on, renaming it. Manual. Lovely. Now, we still have the A-Median hotfixes to install, but I'm going to be a little bit sneaky with those. So I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to extract all of these. Now that I have them all extracted, I don't need these Z archives anymore. Going to delete them. Going to open up all three of those. Take the data folder out of the Staff of Mangus hotfix. Take the data folder out there. Merge these two together. Go into the Bone Mold fix. Take out the data directory and merge them once more. Now I have all of them in one nice folder, and I can add these to one single data directory. Delete everything else. Rename this. And open up Mod Organizer and install. Perfect. Activate these in the order which we downloaded them. And with all of those active, I'm going to sort the plugins. And start the game. And here we are, we're back in the game, and already things are looking much better. Our armor is a much deeper shade. The walls look fantastic. The chains here are actual chains and not just made out of thin air. Overall, the world is looking much, much nicer. So let's save the game and install the next set of visual mods. Alrighty, on to part 2 of the graphical section. We are going to be going through a lot of mods, as you can see, and they are HD ore, book covers, rustic windows, ruins clutter, realistic smoke, ultimate HD fire, tobes, high res textures, high quality food, vampire lord, retexture, dust, improved closed faced helmets, point the way, road signs, apotheosis, dragon priest marks, the ruffled feather collection, unique uniques, and insanity's ebony sword replacer. Whew, what a mouthful. These are much smaller than the previous texture mods that we installed, so don't stress if you're running out of bandwidth or hard drive space. All of these in total are about 1.5 GB. There's nothing fancy in regards to these mods, however, with HD ore and ingots, don't download the main file, download the manager. Book covers in Skyrim. This adds book covers to every book in the game, and we want the original version. I don't like the desaturated version. I want the books to look cool. Rustic windows, guess what this does? However, scroll down and I'm finding the 2K version, Skyrim and Dragonborn. Ruins clutter improved, we want the NMM installation. Realistic smoke, I want the high version, feel free to pick the medium version. Ultimate HD, now this is actually one mod where I will be downloading the medium resolution. This mod murders performance. It is disgustingly good looking, but it does really eat into those FPS, so I want the medium resolution. Tobes high res textures, back to the full version, thank you very much. This replaces a lot of the clutter in the game. High quality food and ingredients, guess what this does? I want the full version, thank you very much. Vampire Lord retexture. Now, you have to decide whether or not you want an armored Vampire Lord or an unarmored one. I personally like the armor. Dust. This makes the dust in the game more refined, less like smoke. I'm going to go for the 1024 version because, again, it's going to play havoc on performance. Improved close-faced helmets. It does exactly what you would think, and it allows your character to actually see out of their helmet. Amazing. The other thing it does is it actually reshapes the helmet to your character's head so it fits better. So we need to download with manager, and we also need the patch. Point the way. This just adds more signs for directions around Skyrim. Very tiny mod. Road signs. Retextures said road signs. Now, Apotheosis Dragon Priest masks. This retextures all of the Dragon Priest masks in the game. There are other mods that do this. I feel they're a bit ostentatious, so this is my preferred one. It also allows you to wear the masks as a belt, but in order to do that we have to scroll all the way to the bottom and download the Warmonger Armory patch. Next up, the Ruffled Feather Collection. This is actually around about 10 mods or so in one single file. Most notably, it includes better dynamic snow and water. So if in the future, if you're downloading a mod and it asks, do you have better dynamic snow or water? Yes you do. Download with manager. Next up, unique uniques. This makes all of the unique named weapons in the game, except for a couple of minor ones, have completely unique models. Download with manager. And Insanity's ebony sword replacer. So I like this replacer that makes it look like an actual sword. Fancy that. Download with manager. Our files have finished downloading and we can start installing them. Nothing too fancy here, just regular old installers. The data file is 2 down in HD or in ingots. Book covers of Skyrim, manual, wonderful. It's a relatively large mod, so I'll just fast forward. Rustic Windows, select the data directory. Ruins Clutter, install everything. Realistic Smoke, select the data directory, wonderful. Ultimate HD Fire, medium. Manual, select the data directory, wonderful. High resolution textures from Tobes, the data directory is 2 down. High quality food, manual, select the data directory. The Vampire Lord retexture. Select the data directory. The Dust retexture. I know I'm going through these very quickly, but by this point we've installed over 80 mods. I think you get the general idea. This is more or less just for posterity. We just installed the improved closed-faced helmets, and now we're going to install its patch. We use the Warmonger Armory, so we need to select that. We do not use anything else. Here we use the Apotheosis masks, so we'll need those. Install. Merge with our existing mod. Point the way, a tiny mod, perfect. Road signs, wonderful. Apotheosis, manual, wonderful. Now the Warmonger Armory compatibility patch for Apotheosis, manual, select the data directory. Radio, and we want to merge. The Ruffled Feather, and we want to do a custom install. Yes, we want water, and we have SMIM installed. We have the legendary version of water, and I like the plants, but I do not like the weird mod crab. Valscar is a separate mod that we will not be installing. We do not have realistic needs and diseases. Select this patch if you feel like it. It simply changes the vanilla mesh a little bit. Adds a 3D fence. This adds a tiny little gap in Riften, allowing you to swim into the city. I'm not fast with it. We do want better dynamic snow, and we have the legendary edition. Decreasing the plants, so this makes the plants just a little bit smaller. This might save 1 or 2 FPS, and I'm very much interested in that. I am interested in the hairy fur pelts on the ground, but I do not want the performance meshes. We use a separate mod to overhaul the visuals of ore and ignites, so we don't need this. And Just Ice replaces the ice textures in the game. Moss Rocks adds a tiny amount of moss to rocks, making them look like they weren't just placed there. This adds a ridiculous amount of fire to your login menu. If you like fire, by all means, I'm not interested. This replaces sweet rolls to look like sweet nuts. If you like the look of that, by all means. Terrain bump is if you're using the vanilla textures. We are not, so next. Vibrant auroras. If you've ever seen the Northern Lights, that makes the Northern Lights everywhere in Skyrim all the time. Love it. Mountains and Rocks is its own independent visual change to the walls of rocks that you might find around Skyrim next to mountains. I like it. Now we don't want any of these settings selected. This is for another mod that we're not using, so just make sure both nuns are selected. And I like my star room to be HD. This adds a bunch of smoke coming out of the Red Mountain in the Dragonborn DLC. Yes, I would like that. And finally finish up. Uniques. So there are some variations here. You can change some of the aesthetics of some of the unique weapons. I think the default selection is just fine, so I'm going to install those. Last but by no means least, the Insanity Sword Replacer. Wonderful. I did make a small mistake. You will need to go through and find the Apotheosis Dragon Priest masks and move them to just below book covers of Skyrim. Sorry about that. Let's activate all of the files. Let's sort our plugins. And run Skyrim. And the first thing that is very obvious is how nice the water looks. This beautiful, clean, crisp water. Over there we can see a wonderful mossy rock, and the flora looks significantly improved. And what's this? An ebony sword that actually looks like an ebony sword. And that about wraps up episode 4. Make sure you save your game. In the last episode, we'll get the last few mods installed and then spend the latter half of the episode setting up the E&B and making the game look fantastic.